So today we are having a special guest on the show. I am so excited to welcome Jennifer Marcks, and we're going to chat about gluten-free. So let's introduce yourself and go from there.
Hi, Krysta. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here and have a conversation with you. My name is Jennifer Marcks. I am the creator of Gluten-Free Marks the Spot, where I help women finally say goodbye to gluten for good, because we tend to want to put it off when we're told to go gluten-free because it's so overwhelming at the beginning. But we need to have a sustainable and delicious gluten-free lifestyle. So I give you easy steps in order to do that.
That is so needed right now, especially with my audience. You know, it can be tough going gluten-free and thinking that it's in everything. So, yeah, definitely a conversation that we need to have. So I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you.
So yeah, let's kind of dive in. Like, how did you get started in this field?
Oh gosh. Well, long story short, I just had a lot of health issues that the doctors would always say, "Oh, you're just stressed out. You're just stressed out. Walk up the flight of stairs and almost pass out. You're having a heart attack. Oh no, you're totally healthy." I was rushed to the hospital in college, doubled over in pain. My belly was killing me like I was knives in it. Oh, you're totally fine. Really? Really? I'm totally fine. But constant headaches. Canker sores were a daily thing. Sometimes they were so bad I couldn't talk, or I'd be talking, and if you're drinking something, that it just falls out of your mouth. Neuropathy. I had headaches every day, bloated belly. I just had all these very disruptive symptoms that you can ignore for a little while, and then they just creep up and creep up and creep up and creep up. And then they really started interfering with my lifestyle. Like I was starting to miss work, or miss going to my children's activities, and all these things. And I need answers. Something is wrong here. And so I started telling the doctors, I'm keeping this food journal, and I know it's something I'm eating, but I can't pinpoint what it is. They're like, you're stressing yourself out. Food has nothing to do with it. We all know that's not true.
Yes, very not true.
Food has everything to do with how you feel. You're either giving your body fuel and food and nutrition you need, or you're disrupting your body's health, right? So, especially with gluten. Finally, I had a doctor that said, okay, I think it is food, but I don't know what it is. So he sent me to a dietitian, and she said, I think you can't have gluten or dairy. And dairy, I kind of knew bothered me, and I knew what my limit was there. So I knew I could have like a little bit of milk or one ice cream, and that was it, So we took out, well, of course, I was like, this was 15 years ago. So I said, well, what is gluten? I had no idea, never heard of that. So of course I didn't pinpoint it because I didn't know what it was. 15 years ago, it wasn't a conversation in society like it is now. Right? It wasn't in every sitcom and every movie that they're making fun of and saying, ooh, that's disgusting because it's gluten-free, right? So we weren't having those discussions. So she's told me to go gluten-free. She said, go down to Whole Foods and get some bread and buy some quinoa, and you'll be all set. That was my beginning to going gluten-free. And I was like, what? Went to Whole Foods. Basically, I left crying because I couldn't find anything. No one there understood what I was looking for. It was a mess. And I was a teacher and a school administrator, so I'm very, very driven to research and study. And so I started diving in and trying to figure things out. I'm like, what is this gluten, And I'm like, wow, celiac disease. Okay, that hadn't been brought up to my attention. So we kind of dove into everything. And as I was studying and researching, I discovered that my children had celiac disease.
Okay.
They were in first grade and third grade at the time. I now have 3 children, but at the time I had 2. And all of their symptoms, like short stature, that behind in tooth development, vitiligo. My daughter had vitiligo on her legs. She had neurological tics where her arms would just fly out while you were talking to her. That was very scary. She was every night, Mommy, come sit with me. The doctor's like, she's stressed. I'm like, she's a happy-go-lucky third grader. She is not stressed out. Something's happening here. So as I researched and dug into things, celiac disease kept popping up. And so I did not test for that. I'm non-celiac, gluten sensitive, but I have a crumb of gluten and I am done for a week to a month. I mean, it's bad. And my children both tested for celiac disease. So I say going gluten-free, learning that gluten was an issue for me is one of the best things that's ever happened, because I don't believe we ever would have put pieces together of all the different things my children were going through, or even myself, that gluten would have been the culprit.
And it's fascinating, like, you can be diagnosed celiac and yeah, obviously you're going to have reactions to it and whatnot, but people that aren't diagnosed celiac still get massive reactions like that. And it makes you wonder, like, why are we eating this?
Well, yeah, there are studies out that tell us that, gluten really does affect everybody, but we don't listen to our bodies. We have to pay attention. What is your body telling you? When you eat something and you're bloated every single day, that's a sign, right? If you go to the restaurant and every time you eat at a certain restaurant, you run home and you're in the bathroom for 2 hours, that's a sign. All these things. And even the little signs I had previous to doing much about it, the headaches every day, I just kind of brushed them off until one of the other teachers said, "You have a headache every single day after lunch." And I was like, "I do?" And I was like, "Wow, I do." And that's when I started learning to pay attention to my body and to hear what it was telling me.
Yeah. So I thought of a question, especially like, you've been doing this for so long. Back in 15 years ago or so, I'm sure they didn't really have much for gluten-free foods out there. And now that they do, is that something that's good? Like, should we pick the gluten-free foods, or are they still just kind of chemical bombs that we want to avoid anyways?
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's pluses and minuses. 15 years ago, it was harder to find gluten-free foods that were enjoyable. You tried to convince yourself that it tasted good. So today, there are more options, way more options. There are better options, and there are healthier options, which is the good thing, because years ago, there really weren't that many healthy gluten-free options. So I would say you can start in the gluten-free aisle, but you don't want to stay in the gluten-free aisle. And if you're going to start in the gluten-free aisle, you still want to be reading labels and looking at the choices you're making, because if you are eating all processed gluten-free food, that's not really going to help you move forward in your health. And most of us go gluten-free because gluten has derailed our health, right? So when you look at it from that perspective, it's like, why would we do that?
Yeah.
Most gluten-free food is loaded with sugar, salt, preservatives, all the extra ingredients that you can't pronounce, you don't know what they are. So I always tell my clients, if you can't pronounce it, you don't know what it is, you have to ask yourself, do I want to put this in my body? So if you look at food in that respect, you can find some healthy options today. So you don't have to have all whole foods, but moving closer to a balance of some, processed foods and then mostly whole foods is a better way to live a gluten-free lifestyle, because gluten-free alone does not mean you're living healthy.
Right.
Yeah, not at all.
So what does a gluten-free lifestyle look like for you, and how you help others? What kind of are the first steps there?
Yeah. So when a client comes to me, and you mentioned this right at the beginning, that it's overwhelming, right?
Yes.
And that we want to put it off because, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn, and how am I going to do this? Because it is a huge change in your life and in your lifestyle. So I always like to tell my clients, because I did the same thing. I went down the deep, dark hole of deprivation. Like, oh my God, I'm never going to have chocolate again. Like, I was a chocoholic, like not a healthy chocoholic. My relationship with chocolate has changed a lot over the years. I'm happy with a dark square of chocolate. My friends laugh at me now, where in the past I would eat bags and bags and bags of M&Ms, one of the worst things you want to eat now with all the dyes and preservatives on them, right? But having said that, that was my first thing was, oh my gosh, I'm never going to eat chocolate again. I'm never going to have my dad's stuffing at Thanksgiving. I'm never going to have my mom's creamed onions or my grandma's cookies. Like, so you go through this deep, dark hole. So I always take my clients and say, what is the one food you don't think you can live without? Like for me, it was chocolate, right? So I went and found chocolate. Found chocolate that I could eat that was gluten-free and dairy-free And I'm also corn-free, so it had to be corn-free too, which I found out after going gluten-free. And once I found that, I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. I don't have to give up everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did was I took all of our family recipes and substituted gluten-free substitutes for a lot of the ingredients and transitioned all of our recipes to be gluten-free.
Okay.
So that helped us to continue to eat how we wanted to eat and eat healthier as I incorporated more healthier options into our lifestyle. We felt better. We had more energy. Our body regained its health. Our symptoms stopped. Like, you go gluten-free, your symptoms are going to stop. So all those skin issues that you're having, if gluten is that culprit, wow, when those rashes go away, your life is so different, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just fuels you to keep going because you're like, wow, I feel amazing. I look amazing. Like, this is worth it.
Yes. Yeah. I still remember when I went gluten-free and woke up and went through this day, and I stopped like in the middle of the day and I was like, oh my gosh, I feel good. I actually feel good. Like, my pants fit. I got up and put them on and they zipped and they fit me. I'm not bloated and wishing that I felt better in my clothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't having symptoms. I felt good. I had energy. And it gives you pause because you think, I could feel good every day. And it is life-changing.
It really is. Like, that's exactly it. We struggle with headaches and stomach issues and those sort of things. And we just think, oh, well, it's, part of life, or maybe I'm getting older or something like that. And yeah, it's definitely doesn't have to be part of life. We can enjoy, life without feeling like crap, even if it's just a little bit of crap.
Yeah. So if I want my clients to get over that hump of deprivation and being stuck and being overwhelmed, because there's a lot to learn and there's a lot to put in place. Mm-hmm. So find that food that you like. And then what do you typically eat? Find some of those foods so that you can see that, okay, I do have to change a lot, but I can still eat these things in a safe, gluten-free manner. And that kind of helps you to move forward a bit, to see that you're not giving every single thing up, right? So I like to do that. And then there's small steps. We want everything yesterday. We want to have all the steps right now. And when you do that, it's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to put it off. I'm just going to go gluten-free another day, and when gluten is the culprit and the root cause of your issues, whether it's skin issues or canker sores or headaches or brain fog or bloating and living in the bathroom all day, if that's the root cause, you want that to go away, right? We want to take that away. So we know we need to go gluten-free. So you don't want to put it off. So easy, manageable steps to go forward is really key. And taking one step, like I look at it as you're building a house, right? Mm-hmm. What do you need when you're building a house? You need a strong foundation. So if you have a strong foundation, you just keep building upon that. So you learn what gluten is and where you find it, and that hidden gluten, because that's what really comes back and knocks you on your butt, is the hidden gluten. Because if you don't know that soy sauce has gluten in it, because we think soy sauce, oh, that doesn't have gluten in it. Well, yes, it's made with wheat. We don't all know that right away. It's like, okay, so you can get gluten-free soy sauce and continue with that. But when you find all those little things, you have your hidden gluten and reading labels and what is gluten, right? It's wheat, barley, and rye. And we have to watch oats, and there are other grains that you have to be aware of. But when you figure that out and you build that strong foundation and you start creating easy, simple meals, we do make this so hard for ourselves, I'll tell you that. The first few recipes I found to go gluten-free had all these ingredients in them that I had not heard of. So it was so hard. I'm like, what? This shouldn't be this hard. But no, when you start making simple, do a stir fry, grab a chicken breast and some vegetables and stir fry it. There's a simple meal, 2 minutes, right? So you incorporate some of that to see that you can do this. And then you keep building on that. You learn how to shop. You learn how to go out to eat. You learn how to eat at a friend's house. You learn how to celebrate the holidays, right? Easter's coming up. Oh my goodness, that causes fear for so many people.
Yes.
You know, when you have the steps and the strategies to put in place, you do it, and it becomes routine in your life, and you get through your days, and all of a sudden you're not stressing out about being gluten-free anymore because you have things in place. And that's what I love, is you build a foundation and you build upon that, and as you do, everything falls into place, and then you wake up one day and it's all there.
I love that because, yeah, recently I've been talking a lot, like, it's the baby steps that'll really get us there, because that's why we get overwhelmed. We think, oh, well, I have to change everything right now, figure it all out, have it all planned, like holidays and my meals and dinners out. Like, yeah, when you think of it that way, it is overwhelming. But, starting with that solid foundation, doing baby steps, figuring out your meals and then going from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And whether it's your whole family or whether it's just you, it's doable in either situation, because that's the other thing that comes up. Well, it's just me. How can I just be gluten-free? Or should my whole family be gluten-free? Those are great conversations to have and figure out what's the best fit for you. In my house, 4 out of 5 of us are gluten-free because we have to be.
Yeah.
So, it's our lifestyle. So it's, it's there, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
And that's an interesting question. So if 4 of the 5 of you are gluten-free, do you make gluten-free meals for everybody? What does the last person think? Do they figure, I can eat it, so I'm going to?
Yeah. So the one who is not is my husband. And yes, I cook and bake and make everything gluten-free, dairy-free, and corn-free at our home. And that is what we eat. And if he wants to eat gluten outside of the home, he can. Sometimes he brings gluten in the home, which we have to, of course, have our separate area and separate spot for, and make sure we're not cross-contaminating when we do that. So you do have to have your steps and strategies in place in order to keep everybody safe and healthy. But yeah, it's very doable.
Perfect. Yeah, that's super helpful. I know a lot of the people that watch this will be a little more relieved, I think, in thinking that it is possible, even if you're single, if you have a family, doesn't matter. Is there anything else that we haven't covered yet that you wanted to share that's calling to you?
No, just really concentrating on the small steps, because we want everything at once. I had a program and it was like all at once, and people wanted that, but I'm watching them struggle, and it's like, this isn't working. And I'm a teacher, so I know you don't teach that way, right? So I broke it up to a membership, and then you get a piece every month. And now we put one piece down, and then you get it set, because life happens. Right? When you're in a program and you're going forward, life happens and you get thrown off. You're like, oh, now I'm behind. You're never behind. You just keep going. And if you take the one piece and you learn about your menu, what are my safe foods and what should I watch out for? And then you learn how to shop and where to find those and how to save money and all those good tricks. And then how to set up your kitchen. And you go through those steps and you build upon it every month. It's not stressful. We still think we need everything yesterday, but the reality is this is not a diet that you are going to follow for a month. This is your lifestyle moving forward. And that's not being said to scare people off, but to know that this is your lifestyle. This is what you need to do moving forward, period. So if you take your time to really put things in place, you're going to wake up and be like, oh, I've got this. This is great. I mean, you go on vacation and it's scary the first few times you go on vacation. I will tell you that. Taking my family to the beach. How are we going to do this? We're going to get sick. What's going to happen? What if we get sick? We're so far from home. Now every year we go to the beach and it's just a piece of cake, because we know how to handle the situation now. So as you learn, you build your confidence. And as you build your confidence, you get better at getting through your day and staying healthy, being gluten-free, and speaking up for yourself. That comes along with it. So I know a lot of shy people, and myself, I didn't want to speak up and tell people. You're at a restaurant with a big group of people. you don't want to be the one speaking up and saying, excuse me. But guess what? When you don't do that, you end up getting sick. You need to speak up and ask the questions and go through the procedure. And when you do, then you stay healthy. Then you don't get cross-contaminated. Life happens, so it happens sometimes. But when you put things in place, you are better off for sure. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that's super helpful. I had something on the top of my brain and it just jumped right out. Yeah, I think we'll kind of wrap it up from there. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your knowledge with us. It's super helpful. Where can people find you and follow you and learn more?
Yeah, thank you. So I do have a website that is full of lots of great gluten-free information, free resources, and lots of yummy and delicious recipes. And that is glutenfreemarksthespot.com. Marks is my last name, Marcks. So you can go there. Or I have a podcast, Saying Goodbye to Gluten. And you can go check that out. There's lots of different talks. I have special guests on and lots of information to really help you create a sustainable and delicious gluten-free lifestyle.
Perfect. And I think that's the key is that, it's a lifestyle and it's just going to make things so much easier, once you get it figured out is, like you said, it's piece of cake.
Gluten-free.
Gluten-free cake, yep.
Gluten-free cake, of course, which we love to make over here.
And that's the fun thing. Like, you get to start baking and learning. And I think that we've gotten so far away from that, the convenience of food where you can just grab and go. But when you start making your own food and it's healthy and it's nourishing your body, then that's really
it is, and it's so rewarding. And I grew up baking and my mom bakes. So when we went gluten-free, it was a big oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Because that is something I'm passionate about baking. I love baking. For the holidays, I bake for everybody. So how do you do that? And we learned a lot. And yes, we make birthday cakes. We make cakes and muffins and cookies. But guess what? They're healthy and we're in charge of what's in them. So you can still bake, and I'm not using 2 cups of sugar. I'm using a 1/4 cup of coconut sugar, if that, or a tiny bit of maple syrup or some dates, and that's it. So you learn the swaps. That's the key. You learn all those swaps. And so you create a healthy and delicious gluten-free lifestyle, and it pays off.
For sure. Yeah, I've brought baked goodies into work and stuff like that before, and people don't even know. It's not the rabbit food that it used to be, the cardboard that everybody always says, it's just cardboard. Well, no, there's so many options now, and it tastes great.
Not if you do it right, it's not. So that's why I love doing cooking classes, because that's what I teach my clients, how easy you can make it and how delicious you can make it by using the right swaps. You're not eating cardboard anymore.
I love that. Yeah. Perfect. Well, and there's Jennifer, and everybody should be following her and learning how to make delicious gluten-free meals, because it is worth it.
Thank you so much, Krysta. I appreciate that.
Thank you.